speaking about Israeli apartheid, and I'm speaking about it not in order to analyze some abstract concept or practice in a faraway land. But before I begin, I want to say that there is something unique about discussion about Israel in this country. I mean, a year ago, almost to the months, I was doing a tour of British universities to speak about Israel apartheid. And over there were no controversies. Departments on college campus like this one did not feel that they have to take away Israel apartheid because it is offensive to some political groups. Over there, like I went with students after my talk at Oxford University, and we went to a well-known Italian restaurant in the town, and they agreed with the restaurant to print out special menu for my talk titled Israel Apartheid Week. And I told the students, are you aware that we cannot do that in the United States? I do not know of any restaurant, even Burger King or Subway, who would accept to print out special menus with the word Israel Apartheid in them. Because the United States does not allow for any free debate or discussion about the subject of Israel and the Palestinians. And I think this is something we need to investigate, but it's not the topic of my talk today. But I think you should also know, while in the United States, supporters of Israel apartheid are bombarding you with messages that support for Israel and its wars is the moral imperative, you are now left alone in the world community in your stubborn support for Israel and its wars. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look at the voting record at not the Security Council, where the United States bullies other members and where you have the veto power. Look at the voting record of the General Assembly, a much better reflection of the opinion of states around the world. Year after year, in the beginning of every new session, they do debates and voting about Israel and the Palestinians. And if you look at recent years, you will find the reality. You are now on your own. No, there's like three others. Usually on these votes, you have Israel on the one side, and the United States, and, to be respectful to two other states, Micronesia and the Marshall Islands, which you basically run and dominate. But you have these four states on the one side, and on the other side, well, there is the rest of the world. And if you want to look at public opinion surveys around the world, you will find, to a country, public opinion is the reverse of what it is here in the United States. In America, as you know, 60% of the American public support Israel, and something like 10 to 14% support the Palestinians. Now, of course, I can easily ironically add that Americans are notorious for knowing less about geography and world affairs than other countries of the world, but I'm not going to say that. Well, I just said it. I snuck it in, I guess. But the point is, that's not how it is around the world. I mean, if you look at Scandinavian countries or Germany, public opinion in the last 3 decades have shifted. I mean, Germany, Sweden, Netherlands, these were, in the 1960s and 70s, some of the staunchest supporters of Israel worldwide. Now, in Germany, public opinion is more than 5-6% in favor of the Palestinians. France, more than 15%. Britain, the entire world. Scandinavia, I've never been to Sweden or Denmark without walking in a street downtown and coming across a small or big demonstration for Palestinian rights by native people of that country. In the United States, it's a different story. But I am not only making an abstract point that there is an apartheid state called Israel. No. I am saying more than that. I am saying that you in the United States are funding and arming the apartheid state of Israel. A state that practices classic colonialism of the 19th century in the 21st century. And you may not have known about it. In what way we are using the word apartheid? I'm not going to go to the etymology of the word in Afrikaner, but I will tell you what it amounts to, whether in South Africa and whether it's in Israel. And I, unlike Jimmy Carter, who 2 years ago wrote a book on that subject in which he used the word apartheid, when he was universally attacked in the United States by liberals and conservatives, he defended himself by saying, I am talking about the West Bank and Gaza, the areas that Israel imposes a brutal occupation. I am not Jimmy Carter. I am saying no, the apartheid of Israel applies both. In Israel of 1948, in the state of Israel per se, and in the West Bank and Gaza. I mean, I will add more than that. And on every land that Israel has occupied. I am not a Palestinian. I am from South Lebanon. I briefly lived under Israeli occupation in 1982 when Israel invaded my country and killed in few months 20,000 Lebanese and Palestinians, mostly civilians. So when I lived under that occupation as a survivor, barely, of that invasion and occupation, I can tell you, Israel practices a system of apartheid in every area it occupies, Palestine and otherwise. Now, by apartheid I mean the following. 1. Israel imposes a clear legal, geographical, meaning physical, and political separation of people on the basis of race or religion/ethnicity. That is classic South Africa. It is a state that tells people, you can live here, you can live there, and you, if you belong to the inferior race, you cannot live there. We will move you around because we want to make room for the superior humans, the ones who are more precious than you. And we're going to build walls just to make the point clear. And we will build special roads. Some are for the inferior race, and some are for the superior race. I mean, if this is not classic apartheid, I don't know what it is. In fact, don't take my word, an Israeli, a Zionist, former Minister of Education, was driving her car one day. Her name is Shulamit Aloni. And she says what happened. On one occasion, I witnessed such an encounter between a Palestinian driver and a soldier who was taking down the details before confiscating the vehicle and sending its owner away without the car. Why, I asked the soldier, it's an order. This is a Jews-only road. Unquote. I mean, it seems to me, if you want to deny that apartheid of South Africa is a replica or vice versa of the apartheid of Israel, I mean, it's like denying that oranges are oranges. Second, apartheid of Israel is an example of a violent appropriation of lands and its distribution in favor of a group on the basis of race or ethnicity or religion. That's what happens in Israel. That's what happened in South Africa. By the way, in South Africa, despite the dismantlement of apartheid, I was reading an article about it on the plane, still the white minority has a wide disproportionate ownership of the land compared to the majority Africans. In Israel, they basically took over all the land. Why bother? They took over all the land and they put it in the custody of Jewish people worldwide. So it means, Palestinian friend of mine who have deeds to lands they own in Palestine are told the land that you owned, for which you hold a deed, that you put on your wall in a frame, by the way, many Palestinians do that, that land doesn't belong to you. That will go to a custody of Jewish people worldwide. So a Jewish person in this town can own a land that a Palestinian friend of mine, for which he has a deed, has absolutely no access with, and if he tries to step on it, will be shot. Now that is, it seems to me, apartheid. Israel did something else in 1948. Israel wanted to basically take over the entire land. So what did they say? They created what they called an absentee landlord law. They said if at a certain date and time you are not physically present on your land, you lose it. And the land will go to a custody of the Jewish people worldwide. So basically, if you are visiting your aunt in a neighboring village, you lost your land. If you stepped outside to buy, tomatoes, you lost your land. If, on the one hand, you were somebody who were physically kicked out by your land by Israeli Zionist forces, you lost your land. If you were